Welcome to Visions of BVA. Today we are joined by Jennifer Johnson, Guide Dog Program Director at Dogs Inc., who brings 18 years of expertise in training guide dogs. She'll share how these incredible animals enhance the independence of the blind and visually impaired, the bond they form with their handlers, and what the application process involves. Afterwards, we will hear from Sheldon McKinney, a retired U.S. Army Master Sergeant who will share his personal journey with his guide dog. Let's dive into the world of guide dogs with Jennifer. If you could just introduce yourself, maybe your title, your role at Dogs Inc.
My name is Jennifer Johnson. I am the Guide Dog Program Director at Dogs Inc. I have been with Dogs Inc. 18 years in June. This organization is very near and dear to my heart. It's a great organization that does great things on so many levels. So what I do here as director of the Guide Dog Program is I oversee the training of the guide dogs, the placement of the guide dogs with their new person, and then also the follow-up that our guide dog clients get after they graduate from one of our on-campus training sessions here. So I get to see kind of the full cycle of the dog from training as an adult dog, and then the matching with the person and making the team, and then follow up throughout the working life of the guide dog with their person. The only part I don't really have a whole lot of involvement is the puppies, but whenever I get a chance to hang out with them, I do.
Absolutely. I guess, what's so special about your school? Is there any difference between your school and other schools?
Sure. Well, we're the only guide dog school in the Southeast. So that makes us stand out right there, just demographically, which is where we're located. And we have a great program here where our dogs are in training. And then our residential training program for our applicants that come is 3 weeks. They stay here on campus. We work with them 6 days a week. And we have really nice facilities here with hotel-style dorm rooms for everybody to stay in while we make this their home away from home. And when they're here, their focus is on getting their new guide dog. So all of the distractions of work and home and everything get to be put aside for a few weeks as they learn to work with their new partner. And we have some different things that we do with our dogs while they're here in training. We have a canine fitness team that works with the dogs and gets them in shape for it and does a little enrichment with the dogs. We provide guide dogs for the blind and for the visually impaired. We also have a program for veterans with post-traumatic stress.
I'm blind myself, and I do not have a guide dog. I have gone through the process of participating in a training exercise. I think the term is a Juno walk. And It was a great experience because I think walking with a guide dog is very different than using your cane. What is the benefits of guide dogs to the blind and visually impaired community?
So the guide dog offers a different way of traveling for the individual. So and it can increase the speed at which you travel, the efficiency, the safety. Now there's differences between traveling with a guide dog and a white cane, and one of those big differences is the tactile feedback that you get when you're traveling with your cane. So as you're traveling with your cane, you might notice things, objects that you're walking around and things like that, whereas a guide dog is just going to take you on that straight path, and you might not know that there's things that you're walking around. Now the person, whether with the white cane or the dog, they still need to know how to get from point A to point B. So that sometimes is one of the misconceptions of a guide dog, is you can just kind of tell it, take me to the pharmacy or take me to Publix. And that's just not how that works. Like the handler, the person still needs to know how to get there, which directions to take, which roads to cross, things like that. It's just a different way of traveling. And a guide dog is also a lifestyle. This is a dog that is there with you 24/7. So not only do they enhance the way that you're traveling, but they're also there for the companionship. But it is a lifestyle. So when you travel, you're taking your guide dog with you. Most places, there's not, some places aren't the best place to take a guide dog. But most times, if you're traveling for work or for personal reasons, then you're taking your guide dog with you. When you wake up in the morning, the guide dog is there for you to take care of, and when you go to sleep at night, they're there with you too. So it's definitely a lifestyle. So that's one of the differences between the cane and the dog.
So I have a question for you. What are the differences between a guide dog and a service dog?
Yeah, that's a question that we get a lot too. And especially as service dogs and guide dogs and assistance dogs, it's popping up more and more. It's becoming more and more prevalent in our society. Both service and guide dogs are highly trained to assist an individual with a disability. And by law, both a guide dog and a service dog are tasked trained assistance animals that can have access to anywhere the public has access. Now, the difference is that a guide dog specializes in aiding a person that is blind or visually impaired, where a service dog may assist with a wider range of disabilities, and they'll perform tasks that are tailored to their person's specific needs. And some of those examples are maybe opening doors, alerting for medical issues, some other mobility assistance, such as maybe picking up things or stability assistance, and of course, the PTSD mitigation.
And if I'm not mistaken, I think Lydia explained to me that you guys do have a program for that within Dogs Inc.
Correct. Yes. So we have two tracks that our dogs can take in their training. One track is for the guide dog, and the second track is for the service dog. And we have a third track too that is a skilled companion. Now those dogs are a little bit different. They don't have public access, whereas the service and the guide dogs do.
Understood. If I was a veteran or a person that was interested in pursuing a guide dog at Dogs Inc., what's the application process like?
So the first thing I would say is, if you're interested in a guide dog, is to make sure that you have some orientation and mobility skills, so that your skills traveling with a white cane, you're confident with that. Because again, that's going to be your foundation to traveling with a guide dog too. So knowing how to get around and how to travel independently, and then the dog is going to enhance the efficiency and the safety of that travel. And once you've got that under your belt, then our application process starts online, and we have kind of a pre-assessment online before you're led to the actual application. And the pre-assessment goes through a series of questions so some of it's informational and some of it's questions about your lifestyle, just to give you a really good and solid idea of what it's going to be like to live and work with a guide dog. We're talking a big chunk of time here. Our dogs will work until age 11. So you're working with these dogs for 9 or 10 years. So we want to make sure that you're as informed as possible before coming into the application process, and that you can make the informed decision that a guide dog lifestyle is right for you. So once you've done all these pre-assessment questions, and you still decide that it's right for you, and based on some of the answers that you give, we also feel that this is the right direction, then you'll be led to the application. And that's going to ask where all of your personal information is, and then we have some required paperwork. Once all that is submitted, then we have somebody from the organization, a guide dog mobility instructor, that will come out and visit you at your home and work. We want to see what your lifestyle is like, where the dog will be working, where the dog will be living, and what kind of environment that's going to be, because all that is going to take into account how we match you with this dog. Do you live in the country, in a real rural area on a farm, or do you live in a really urban area, New York City, Washington, D.C., or is it somewhere in between? Are you in the suburbs, in a neighborhood? Do you take public transportation when you go to work? Is that public transportation in the form of a train or a subway, or in the form of a city bus, something like that? And then if you do work or if you do volunteer, what does that environment look like? Is the dog going to have to be settling for a good portion of the day, maybe in an office cubicle type environment? Or are you a teacher and the dog is going to be in a classroom full of children all day? So all of those lifestyle specifics. We get to meet you, talk to you, get to know you a little better, where the dog is going to live, and then we take all that information back, and we do have a selection committee that takes all of that information into account from your application and the home visit, and decide if we're the right school for you.
When choosing the right guide dog for a handler or for an individual, what goes into that? What's important, and how does that take place?
Yeah, well, a lot of that information is gathered during that home interview process. And then once we have and the applicant is approved for the guide dog, then they go into a pool and we start looking for a dog for you. And the first thing that we're going to look for to match you with a dog is how fast you walk. Because the paces need to match, or the dog may walk just slightly faster than the person, because you're going to need some guiding tension in the harness as well. So when the person is holding onto that guide dog harness, there's going to be some guiding tension. So the dog is guiding you around. So those are the two things that we're going to take into account first. Once we feel like we've got that matched up with you, then we look at all the other lifestyle information and key points that we gathered from the home interview to make sure that this dog is going to fit into your lifestyle. You know, everybody has their strengths and weaknesses, and we want to make sure the dog is going to be put into the environment that they're going to be the most successful with their handler. And once we have that information, then we do ask a little bit about what you like in a dog too. And because this is a partnership that's going to be going on for a decade, give or take a year or so. And we want to make sure that everybody likes each other too. And so we want to ask you a little bit about what you like in a dog.
So what are some common misconceptions about guide dogs? I know that you touched on a few briefly. You mentioned like some people might think, if I just tell the guide dog where to go, it's going to go. Are there any other ones you might want that you can think of, or might want to touch on?
Yeah, I think one of the big misconceptions, and this is kind of the question that we get when we're training out on the street, is how does the dog know when to cross the street? And always what we say is it's the handler's responsibility. It's the person working the dog. It's their responsibility. And that's where the orientation and mobility training comes in. That's where you learn how to read the traffic patterns and know when it is to safely cross. The dog is there if somebody comes out of nowhere and is in close proximity when you're trying to cross the street. So the dog doesn't know how to read the traffic light, is not seeing the red or the green or the walk or the no walk symbol. That's all done by the handler. I think another misconception is that the dog is always working. And that's not true at all. When the dog is at home, the responsibility is taken off the dog. They come home, the harness comes off, and that's their break time. And then they just become like any other dog in the house. You know, they can play with the other dogs in the household. They can chew their bones. They lay on their bed, get lots of love and affection and attention from their person. So I know when everybody sees a dog out there, they are working, even if they're resting at a restaurant and laying under the table, the dog is still working. They're ready to go, and they're maintaining their manners in public. But when they get home, they get to be just that same goofy dog that we all know as pets.
Absolutely. Final question. How should the public respond and behave around guide dogs?
Yeah, I think so the dogs are very highly trained. We put a lot of effort into training a dog. These dogs are also raised for this job. So from very small puppies, they're going out in the public, so that going to different places is the norm for these dogs. So if you took my pet dog who stays at home all day or comes to the office with me, and you brought her out to someplace like the mall or the grocery store, that's not going to be her comfort zone. But for these dogs that are raised for this job, they go to these establishments at age. They go to different. We call them age appropriate exposures. So at different ages, the dog is going out to different places and being introduced to different sights and smells and sounds, so that they're comfortable. And I always say that a guide dog needs to expect the unexpected, because life happens, and the dog has to be ready for all of that. And so I think one of the most important things to know is that these dogs are highly trained, but they're still dogs, and they can become distracted. And if they are distracted, then that's a safety concern for the person that is working with that dog. So being respectful of the person that is using that dog, and not trying to distract the dog by talking to it or trying to pet it, that is the most helpful thing. And sometimes that's hard, because there's a lot of people out there that really love dogs, which is great. But at the same time, we need to keep the dogs focused on their job so they can keep their handler safe. And I think it's important to remember that these dogs do get plenty of attention and plenty of love and petting and playtime from the person that they're working with. So even though they look like they're all business and they're all work when they're out there is playtime for these dogs. And it just comes at the appropriate time. And so not offering food to them, not offering affection, not offering direction, but still offering to help if somebody needs help, just like you would anybody else on the street. If somebody needs some help, then you just offer to give it to them. But you can offer to give it to the person, not by handling the dog or distracting the dog. And our training is very extensive with the guide dog clients, and they receive extensive training on how to care for the dog in a manner that will maintain their critical skills while they're out working. We need to make sure that the basic skills and the working advanced skills of the dog stay sharp, so that they are welcome in public and they're good representatives.
Oh, Jennifer, great advice. I really appreciate you commenting on these things. It is a challenging part of being a dog handler, working with a guide dog and being in the public. But like you said, the dogs are trained to be in this environment and to conduct themselves in a certain manner. It's just, I guess, being a good ambassador and teacher ourselves, as we walk around with our guide dog.
Absolutely. Some of it is just education too, because as many of the service dogs and the guide dogs that are out there now, there's still people that don't come across them very often, and so sometimes just like you said, being an educator and a teacher is really being an advocate for the industry as well.
So finally, I think I just want to ask you, how can we find Dogs Inc. on the web? Is there any particular place you want to point people? And if you're a veteran, specifically to our blind veterans that are part of our community, how do we get involved, or how do we sign up?
Well, there's lots of ways to get involved, and that's not just being a client. Our dogs are raised by foster families and host families from a very young age until they're about 14 to 16 months old. So we're always looking for volunteer families or individuals to raise one of our puppies to become a guide or a service dog. There's a lot of information that can be found on our Dogs Inc. website at dogsinc.org, and most of your questions can be answered there. We're always, there's lots of community events that we do around the country as well, so you can keep an eye out for those. But volunteering is a great way to help the organization. And then if you're looking for a guide or service dog yourself, then I would direct you to the website dogsinc.org.
Jennifer, thank you so very much for being on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me. I love to talk about the industry. I love to talk about the organization, and I'm pretty sure I have the greatest job in the world. So thanks for letting me talk about it and share it.
In this segment of Visions of BVA, we will hear from Sheldon McKinney, a retired Army Master Sergeant, who will share how his guide dog, Nora, transformed his life after sight loss. Sheldon will discuss the challenges of guide dog ownership and his advocacy efforts with the Blinded Veterans Association. Stay tuned for this inspiring story. It's great to have you on, Sheldon. Could you just tell people a little bit about yourself, maybe about your veteran service and your blindness, if you don't mind?
Sure, Steve. First of all, I'd like to thank you for having me on your podcast. A little bit about me. I spent 22 and a half years in the Army. That's active duty and reserve time. My eye condition started about 44 years ago, so I was really 23 when it first started. And I started having problems with my left eye, and over a period of about 10 years, I lost the vision of my left eye. Then it just started happening about 2017, I became legally blind, and I have very little vision in my right eye. So that's my story. And, I've been, a surgeon in the Army, retired as a master sergeant. So that's my military career right there.
I appreciate you sharing that, Sheldon. How about your experience with a guide dog? Can you talk a little bit about that? Maybe your guide dog's name and how it's changed your life.
My guide dog name is Nora. She's a 50-pound, 20-inch black Labrador Retriever. I received her from the CNI. We have been a team for about 2.5 years now. And it's been amazing how she changed my life from a perspective as I feel more safe when I'm out and about rather than when I'm out with the cane and I was, running into obstacles and stuff trying to detect what was in front of me. It has given me a sense of being more relaxed when I'm out walking, and it gives my wife a little sense of security because she was a little leery when I traveled a lot by myself with the cane. But now that I have Nora, she's more at ease, and the experience has been amazing because what happened was when I went to school, I had been researching for years and years, about guide dogs. And when I went, it was a totally amazing thing. The first couple of days, I was a little nervous, but after about a week, I realized it was for me because I was out and I was letting her guide me, and I realized that all these years, I was not paying attention to listen to the birds and stuff. It gave me a chance where I could listen more to my surroundings as I travel. So that's how it helped me, confidence-wise.
Sheldon, what was the process like to get your guide dog?
It wasn't difficult. It was long. The reason it was long, due to when I applied, COVID hit. So I applied. It took my process to get accepted. It took me like 3 months to get accepted, but it took 2 years for them to find me the right dog and stuff. And like I said, COVID slowed that up because they were not taking full capacity students in the inpatient type thing. And there's various processes in getting a guide dog. It depends on what school you want to attend. Every school is a little bit different, but you still have to have your medical. You have to have good O&M skills, and you have to be pretty able-bodied, being able to move around because you need to work the dog, every day. She needs exercise, 2-3 hours of exercise every day.
Can you describe the training process for your dog and how you were involved, if you were involved at all?
Yes, the process of getting a guide dog. The first year, the dog goes to a puppy raiser where they teach the dog socialization and obedience and stuff. Once you go to the school, it's very different depending on school to school. The school I went to, first-time dog handler, you have to be there 26 days. Other schools might be 2 weeks. And the process, once you got there, it's a lot of commands you must learn. It's not just you go to the school, the dog is there, you get the dog, you come back home. There's a lot of commands you have to learn, a lot of footwork. And, when you're walking, you must listen to the dog. You could feel it in the handle as to what the dog is going to do. You can feel the dog going left. You can feel the dog going right. You can feel their head going up. So they teach you what you need to do in those situations. And by me having some vision, I had to learn how to let her guide me and me not use my vision to override what she sees.
Of course. How do you maintain your guide dog's training and skills over time? Is that something that you're responsible for too as well? Or do you have to go back to the school or is it just using your dog more?
No, I don't go back to the school. They will help you if you have a problem with your dog, but pretty much the training is ongoing. It's an everyday training process. When you go out, my neighborhood is a pretty good training route for my dog because we have down curves, we have unlevel sidewalks, we have overhangs, we have dogs running around, dogs behind fences and people out, people distracting the dog. So my neighborhood is a good training thing. So when you get a dog, the training never stops. It's an everyday process.
So it's good basically to have them experience these things that they've been trained with over and over again. So the more you walk with your dog, the better, correct?
Right, the better and the more confidence you get to believe what your dog is telling you. Because that's the hardest part, letting go of your reactions and let the dog take over that. Since my dog has the best eyes. I got the brain, she got the eyes.
Is there any advice you'd give to somebody that's looking for a guide dog?
But the advice I got, be ready to take on a big responsibility. It's like having a baby, that you are fully responsible for everything the dog does. And my routine normally starts at 6 o'clock in the morning where I get up, she wakes me up, we go out, I let her relieve herself, we come back in, I feed her, I brush her teeth, I groom her, then I put on her stuff. Before we go walking, I got a backpack where I have all her stuff. I have wipes, poop bags, shoes, rain stuff. So it's like having a child. So you got to be ready for the responsibility of having a child. She's totally dependent on me. So and nobody else to help me because they teach you to be independent. Don't depend on your family to take care of your dog. So I don't let my family do anything for the dog. I do everything for her.
It sounds like a lot of responsibility.
It is, definitely. But I enjoy it, though.
What are some common misconceptions people have about guide dogs or misunderstandings?
Well, most people think that once you get a guide dog, it's like having a self-driving car that, hey, you get up, you say, hey, let's go to Walmart, and she's just going to take you to Walmart. You don't have to do anything, but that's not the case. That's one of the biggest misconceptions that the dog is taking. You as a handler must have good O&M skills, and also you must know the destination you're going. If you go places regular enough, they will learn that route. So you want them to do that. For an example, when I go to the VA, she knows where I like to go, and a lot of times I don't have to tell her where to go. So if we go in the door, she'll go in the direction automatically, avoiding everybody in there and just take me to my appointment with no directions. So.
Amazing. Just a couple more questions, Sheldon. I wanted to ask you, are there any kinds of cons or negative maybe aspects to having a guide dog or things that you've found that might be difficult to deal with or more challenging? Do you deal with these kinds of things? I know that sometimes some of my friends who have guide dogs, when they try to take public transportation or visit a specific establishment, they may be turned away or told they can't visit. So I assume you have to advocate and really explain a lot of things and try to work through the process of saying that, no, this is a trained dog and and I am eligible to, I can come into this establishment or take this ride. Have you dealt with stuff like that, or?
Yes, that's the biggest. That's one of the biggest cons of having a guide dog. Ride share, getting access to now different places. I hadn't experienced it in going to many places yet, over the last 2.5 years, but I experienced my first ride share denial about a month ago. I was had one to come. I was standing in front of my house. The Uber passed me, and I had to go and advocate for myself. And finally, they took me to my destination, but with a lot of arguing back and forth, telling me, hey, this is the service dog. She's trained, but that's the only con I have, and another con I hate is when you're out in public, people seem to want to distract your dog, because I guess, the world, they love dogs and everybody got a dog story. So people will come up to you, start talking to you about your dog. And in the meantime, while they're talking to you, they're reaching down, trying to pet your dog. So that's one of the cons. You got to be ready to advocate for all the distractions that goes on when you have a service dog or a guide dog.
Are there any things that you're looking forward to with all the technology that is coming about? Is that going to help guide dogs in some form or fashion? I don't know how much you stay in touch with the school and how much they keep you in the loop of things. And also, are you looking forward to any kind of accessibility rights and government movement to improve legislation or laws that help people like ourselves that are blind or visually impaired go into places without having to deal with arguing with an individual or a person?
Yeah. Well, one thing I'm looking forward to is the ride share thing that's coming out, the new autonomous vehicles that's coming out. I'm looking forward to that, because that will get rid of the ride share denial things. And the Department of Transportation is coming out with better guidelines to help us deal with the, air transportation and stuff, because people nowadays has messed it up because everybody wants to bring their dog because, you got a service dog and they see you with your dog. They go, well, why can't I bring my dog? So now they cracking down and get more paperwork so that it makes it easier for you when you travel with your dog. So I'm looking forward to stuff like that. And I'm looking for new legislation to various states to help bring in those autonomous vehicles for people with service dogs or any type of disability that needs alternative transportation.
I hear Waymo is leading in that regard, and that's such a great thing.
Yeah, that's true, because we done a promotional video with Waymo in June. Me and my service dog, me and my guide dog, and 2 other veterans with their guide dog, we done a promotion video, got a chance to ride Waymo through Phoenix, and it was an amazing experience, and it was exciting for things to come in the future.
What is dog handling, and how are you involved with that with the BVA?
Yeah, I'm involved. Like I said, I'm a new chairperson for the Dog Hounds Committee this calendar year, and what we are doing is helping. Our major mission is to support, educate, and advocate for dog handlers and their service dogs. That's what we do, and we have different presenters to come to our monthly meeting and different topics to help current guide dog users, past guide dog users, and people that's thinking about getting a guide dog. We give them the pros and cons and stuff on owning a guide dog. That it's just not you get a guide dog and go. So we just help support, educate, and advocate for our veterans and let them make a decision on their own as to whether they want to go and be a guide dog handler or not.
Well, Sheldon, it was awesome to have you on the show. I really appreciate you answering my questions.
And thank you for having me, Steve, and in the future.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of Visions of BVA. We hope you enjoyed our discussion and found it insightful. If you like what you heard, please consider subscribing to our podcast and leaving a rating or review on your favorite platform. Your feedback helps us reach more listeners and improve our show. Don't forget to follow us on social media for updates and behind-the-scenes content. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. We'd love to hear your thoughts and suggestions for future episodes. Stay connected, stay informed, and we'll see you next time on Visions of BVA. This is Steve Baskus, signing off.
You're listening to a BVA production.